the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
We're winning are still there. The other half is the teal bleachers of Everbank Stadium. So that's always a thing that was on my Instagram back in 2023 when last time I went to the cocktail party.
I love it. On the Vols side of things here on a Pod Divided, I wrote a couple weeks ago about an overreaction, I guess a week and a half ago, or a week ago about why Tennessee is still a top 25 team. And we're seeing like just this avalanche of rankings as we do post-spring rankings and get into summer, where Tennessee is just getting like left off, and Tennessee is getting passed by Oklahoma, Auburn, Florida, South Carolina. A lot of SEC teams are getting ranked ahead of them. And then thankfully, Bill Connolly comes out here with the numbers, and Tennessee is right there in the top 25 in S&P Plus post-spring. So good stuff there. But the betting markets, like the teams that are getting pushed over Tennessee to this point, are teams that, like, some of them have 2 wins less, and they're over/under coming into the year. Like, I think there is a huge disconnect between people who are plugged in and are completely up to date on everything Tennessee football and the Josh Heupel era over the last 4 years versus the national folks that just see 5-star quarterback departs program that has repeat CFP aspirations. You know, like I think Nico Iamaleava has a very different national perspective than folks who have watched every snap of Nico Iamaleava's Tennessee career and every snap of any quarterback in the Josh Heupel tenure at Tennessee. And I think one of the things I wrote about and explored, just kind of diving into it, is like, I think people need to understand is that like Tennessee's schedule is still elite this year. I think it's going to change drastically next year, and we'll see if we go to 9 conference games in the SEC with ESPN and all that. But like Tennessee, I think will be favored in minimum 8 games next year. Their over/under dropped from 9.5 to 8.5 post Nico. You've had below average quarterback play for basically the last 2 years, and you've won 19 games. You are in a position, Matt, where the defense, I think, has earned the benefit of the doubt to continue this thing. I think people are going to look at James Pierce and Omar Norman-Lott being gone, 1st round pick, 3rd round pick. But Jackson Moy is going to slide right in there for Omar Norman-Lott. I think they're going to be fine on the interior. I think Joshua Josephs is poised for a big year 4 following James Pierce. They're going to be fine at Leo. Rodney Garner and Coach Chop are going to get the most out of that position. You're not worried about that. You have the most amount of blue chippers and talent at the linebacker room you've ever had. I think the corners are huge. Like, you had Colton Hood, a 4-star out of Colorado and Auburn, late in the portal there at cornerback. Boo Carter has just superstar talent. He flashed at star last year. He's going to be really good. The defense is going to be one of the best in the conference again. It carries a high floor with you. Special teams has been good. You return everybody there. The offensive line has 2 5-star tackles in Lance Hurd and David Sanders. So you have 2 linchpins there, the most amount of talent you've had at the tackle spot in the Heupel era. You have 2 pretty solid transfer guards in Samuel Pendleton and Wendell Moy, like 2 older vets who should solidify those spots. And then, like, we'll see with William Satterwhite, but another blue chip player you beat out Clemson for as a redshirt freshman. Yeah, the receivers, I don't love the depth there and where they're at receiver. But I also just think Peyton Lewis is your highest rated running back recruit you've had in the Heupel era. He's going to be right there with Deshaun Bishop, who flashed last year. And then Star Thomas you brought in, who almost ran for 1,000 yards at Duke. It's a pretty good, healthy trio. And you've averaged 5 yards per carry every year of the Josh Heupel era. So you're probably going to be able to run the football. Tight end's the most athletic and the best group you've had ever in the Heupel era, with Miles Kitselman back and Ethan Davis in year 3. Like, you should be pretty good there. It's just, like, I think people are overthinking, and that's kind of the thesis that I've gotten to, is I think people are really overthinking Tennessee. Like, people are thinking Tennessee is in a way more volatile state than they're actually in. I think the schedule is nice. I think Tennessee and Heupel deserve a lot more credit for being able to make the most of poor quarterback play or struggles offensively or struggles with identity, struggles with tempo. Like, he's won in a multitude of ways to this point at Tennessee, and Heupel and defensive coordinator Tim Banks deserve a whole lot more national credit than I think they've gotten over the last month and a half. And I'm not saying I'm predicting to make the CFP, because I don't think they're going to be able to do that with where the offense will ultimately be in the passing game. But do I think they're going to probably, I think worst case scenario, it's 7-5, but I think if you play this season out 100 times, 80 times it's 8-4 would be my guess. Maybe 9-3 a couple times too. So I don't think this team is just going to fall off a cliff. I think they're still going to be right around where they were going to 2023. He's actually out. Well, he's actually out Heupel in 3 or 4 years. He has won more games than the over-under going into the year had for the Tennessee Volunteers. So generally speaking, he's outperformed preseason projections for his team. I don't see it. Like, I think people have lost their minds. We're like, Auburn, can he win 8 games? Can Hugh Freeze win 8 games before you put him above Tennessee? Can Florida complete a full season? Can we see a full season of DJ Lagway before you're putting Florida ahead of Tennessee? Like, I understand Florida's like, I understand they get Tennessee at home, and we know how that is in the swamp over the last 25 years. But like some of the teams I'm seeing placed over Tennessee, Oklahoma, like you went into Norman and beat them. Oklahoma has to come here. Like John Mateer has to play a full SEC slate. Their schedule's brutal. Like but
I'll say this, like you just said, what, 80 times out of 100, this team goes 8-4? Is that what you just said?
Somewhere around there. Probably 70 to 80, somewhere around there.
Is this team, if they go 8-4, is that a top 25 team?
Yeah, because then you win the bowl game. I mean, they were 8-4 in 2023. They were 8-4, and they finished 21.
Is that when they beat Iowa and then finished 9-4?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, you finished 9-4, but
they were a top 25 team.
I'm just saying, like, that's 8-4, you lose the bowl game versus 8-4, you win the bowl game. Like those seasons feel very different. 8-5 versus 9-4. But it's like, that's a borderline top 25 team, I feel like, if that's what they do. So I don't think it's like insane. Like I think so much of it's weird coming from someone like me, because I was never that high on Nico to begin with. So it's interesting. Like, I'm not going to just like act like Tennessee's going to fall off a cliff, because I didn't think Nico was this like superstar of all superstars, but the 5-star pedigree, like there was a chance that this is the year he takes the next step and he becomes the prospect we all thought he was going to be, or so many people thought he was going to be. And I think that was baked into a lot of people's Tennessee rating, is that if Tennessee takes the next step, it's because Nico took the next step and he's one of the premier quarterbacks in the entire country. I mean, damn, Tom Fornelli was talking about he's the best quarterback in the country before last season started. Like, it was insane how much hype Nico was getting before he ever even did anything on the field. So I think there's just still a lot of anticipation about what he was going to be. And now, if it's a complete question mark at that position, it's not crazy for Tennessee to now feel like an average team. I think the best thing they have going for them, like as far as finishing top 25, is that the schedule is not very tough.
Yeah, I don't think it's just interesting. Like, could they be? I think the passing game is going to be average. That's my guess. I think it's going to be average, but I think the running game is going to be good. I think the defensive line is going to be above average. I think the linebackers are going to be above average. I think corners, you might have the best.
The running game's got to be great, right? Like, if it's going to, and not
they need to stay healthy.
Not that Heupel hasn't had a very good running game every year he's been there,
yeah.
But like with Sampson last year, it's like it was one of the best in the country. And right. I think is it going to be one of the best in the country again?
So here's what's interesting. The 2 years that Tennessee has had top 10 scoring offenses, the passing game has been near the top of the country. When the run game the last 2 years has been near the best of the country, the pass game is in like the 30s, or the scoring is in like the 30s. So it depends. Like, if the running game takes a step back with the trio of Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis, and Deshaun Bishop, but the passing game makes the leap with like Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley and company, then you take that trade-off. And it's okay that there is a drop-off post-Sampson. Now, if the passing game is like what it was last year, and then you take a slight drop-off from no Sampson, then you're in some really... That's how you... Like, there's no chance to win the flip games, right? That's how you fall into some dangerous territory against Syracuse in the opener in Atlanta. That's how you fall into dangerous territory with Oklahoma coming to town. Like, that gives you maybe no chance of winning those 3 games that you haven't won yet in the Heupel tenure, which is Georgia at all, or at Tuscaloosa, or at Gainesville. So, but I also just don't know. It's just, after 4 years, I just have a hard time believing that the running game really takes a step back, even without your best running back you've had to this point in the Heupel era. I do like Peyton Lewis a lot. I do like Deshaun Bishop a lot. And I think Star Thomas is the number 3. He was the number 1 on Duke, on a really good Duke team last year. I think that's a pretty loaded running back room. if they can stay healthy. My thing is just that, like, I kind of don't want it to be the identity. Like, if you're a Vol fan and you're like trying to break out of the muck here and get the offense back on track and the tempo back on track, and like some of what you saw, not even all of it, because you're never gonna have an offense, I think, like 22 ever again. Like, you were the number one offense in the country. You were just, dudes were running wide open all day long. Teams just had no answer for what was being thrown at. Like, Alabama looks silly. Like, you made Nick Saban look silly in Knoxville. Jalen Hyatt 5 TDs, just running open all the time. Like, I just don't think that's realistic to expect ever again. But I do think it's fair to expect like a top 10 scoring offense again, like what you saw in 21, like the 10th best. Could you get to that? Or maybe a year where you're at 7th, 5th, where you're not record setting, where you have a Blitnikoff or something like that. But could you be right there in that top 10 again, or top 15? Yes, I think you could. And I think that's fair. But the way to do that, the vertical passing game has to be back. The chunk plays have to be back. So I think if that's back, then I'm okay with the running game being more suspect than it was the last 2 years.
But is there any chance that that's going to be, the passing game is going to be improved
Chance?
from
Yes,
this year
because
to
you
last
bet on
year?
your retention, right? Like, you bet on Mike Matthews being back. You bet on Braylon Staley. You bet on Miles Kitselman. You bet on Ethan Davis. I mean, you Chris Brazzell was a big transfer portal get last cycle. Like, I think if they're healthy, possibly. But the problem is, my thing with Tennessee's receiving room right now, and is literally just that, like, they don't have numbers. Like, they're going to have 7 scholarship guys. It's just a group that you like every year. So if you go last year, Squirrel White banged up throughout the year, so he's missing time. Brew McCoy has a gruesome ankle injury in 22, and he's looking like he's about to have a break in 23 as a breakout year. Cedric Tillman starts off against Pitt, just goes off and looks like an absolute number one of the best receivers in the SEC. He goes down, has ankle tightrope surgery, and he's never the same for the rest of the year. After the Akron game, the weekend of my wedding is, I think, when he got hurt for Tennessee Akron. So it's not realistic. Like, guys get hurt, and guys have gotten hurt at that position every year. And I think it's just a lot of people are turning off injuries with Tennessee's receiver room, where I'm like, yeah, I would love if we could just guarantee that Chris Brazzell, Mike Matthews, and Braylon Staley were healthy and playing 60 snaps for all 12 games of the year. Then you could tell me, yeah, I could see this being a breakout year for them and getting back on track. I just don't believe that's realistic. So I worry what happens to that room when an injury or two occurs, because then I think Tennessee's going to go 2 receivers and 2 tight end sets, and they're going to go back to kind of what you saw last year and just run the ball down your throat and bank on their defense.
And I feel like I'm not as concerned about the Tennessee receiver room as I am the quarterback room. I think so much more of it is about the quarterback. Like, the receivers could take a step forward, and like Mike Matthews, big time recruit, like we could see, just maybe they're not, upper echelon SEC, but if they're just a average SEC receiving group, like, that's fine. But I think it's the quarterback position. Is it Merklinger? Is that who's projected to be the starter?
No, I mean, Joey Aguilar is right there too, so it's going to be a
Aguilar.
battle.
I forgot about Aguilar. Yeah, so I would probably think it's Aguilar, right? I mean, he's the guy with starter experience.
I mean, no one has any idea. I think it's going to be wide open. Now, I'd be absolutely floored if true freshman George McIntyre was like QB1 against Syracuse. Now, that would be a shocker. But do I think we see Jake and Joey early? Yes. Yeah. I think it's going to be a little bit of both, is my guess. Until one proves that they can have the job.
Now, I literally just forgot about it, but I would be surprised if Joey Aguilar is not the starter, just because he has some experience. I don't know. I think
he has a lot of experience. I mean, yeah, he started a lot of football games in his career.
Yeah, and I think that just goes such a long way. And maybe that's the guy who can just kind of keep the ship, keep the train on the track, sort of thing, and he can maybe be that game manager.
He's not a game manager, though. Have you watched this tape? Like, Joey Aguilar is a gunslinger. Like, he led college football in interceptions last year. Like, he's a gunslinger. He completed like 55% of his passes.
But he's at UCLA. He's having to do a lot more things.
No, he's been at App State the last 2 years. He didn't play at UCLA. He got there. No, so I mean, he got worse from 23 to 24 at App State. Like, there's some scary trajectory there a little bit with Joey. Seems like a good kid, and he's easy to root for. But yeah, I mean, he's got 2 months to learn everything and get acclimated with all these guys. And I don't know. I don't see there being a way that Jake and Joey do not get like split reps or both get opportunities early on before one of them gets the nod from Heupel.
Yeah, that's probably true. It would be as down as I was about Nico last year. I would be surprised if Tennessee had better quarterback play in 2025 than 2024.
I think, man, it's just so I'm not even gonna throw anything out because I genuinely have no idea what to expect. Like this is the most up in the air the quarterback position has been since 21, with Milton and Hendon and company. Where you're like, you have no idea what you're getting. Because Milton was a spring portal ad. Hendon Hooker was a leftover from Jim Chaney and then Jeremy Pruitt, transfer portal in January of that year. You had no expectations there. I mean, Harrison Bailey, I guess, was kind of the favorite at that point, and that did not go that well.
Was he McEachern? Harrison Bailey?
Marietta.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who we did it. Someone McEachern. Caleb Webb. He was a receiver at Tennessee. He just hit the portal. He's at Maryland now. He was McEachern.
Okay. There's
Keachern
some
used to be a
quarterback from
powerhouse.
McEachern around that time. I'm for something Davis, maybe. I don't know. It's not important.
For Tennessee?
I was thinking he went to Tennessee at one point, but I could be thinking of the dude from Marietta. I mean, that's pretty close.
Yeah. Keachern, what are they? Indians? They said the blue and gold.
They were I don't know. Are they still the Indians? Are you allowed to be the Indians in 2025?
Good question. I don't know if McEachern. That's a big school though. Are they still 6A? What is it?
I would imagine they're whatever the top. They've changed the top classification in Georgia a couple times. Like they were 7A at one point. They got rid of it for a year, I think. But they have to be the top classification, I would think.
Yes, and they are still the Indians.
Okay.
Well, Matt Green, let's dive into our way too early top 25. This piece came out that I thought would be fun to talk about here from Mark Schlabach a couple weeks ago that did talk about Tennessee in this list where let me scroll here. Oh, you think you're going to see Tennessee on this list. Where is Tennessee? Nowhere to be found. And Mark Schlabach's top 25, way too early top 25 here. Matt Green. So when you look at this list, who are your best bets who start in the top 25 in this list, but don't finish in the top 25 on this list? Because that happens every year. There are teams that people are just penciling in, like they're top 25 teams, and then they don't live up to expectations or they have the season from hell. Who do you have on this list that you're looking through? You're like, I could see them not finishing in the top 25.
That makes a lot more sense.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.